Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how you can make class groupings using the placement forms on the end of year Google site. I'm going to scroll down and I've added a new section, placement forms by grade level. We're just going to use third grade as an example. Third grade as an example. So third grade, since they're going to be rising fourth graders, so third grade teachers, rather, have rising fourth graders coming up they need to do placements for. They're going to click rising fourth graders right here. And when you click that form, then you'll get something that looks like this. Each grade level will have their own separate form. I'm just going to use this as a sample. Just like any form, you go and fill out the information. In this case, it's exactly how it is in SIS. There's more detailed directions up above which you can read when it's your opportunity. So you go and you fill out the things like the student's name, their ID number, who was their teacher this year, returning or not, gender, and so on and so forth, just like you would fill out all the information on what might have been a paper card in years past, colored paper card with stickers. So we're going to go electronic here and do it the 21st century version way. Okay, so you have all these things that you're going to complete, and then you click submit. This will all be for one student. And after you click submit, there'll be another button which you can then submit information for the next student. So then you might be asking yourself, if you're new to Google, well, where is all this information going? Well, that's a great question. It all goes into a spreadsheet, a Google spreadsheet, which is very similar to Microsoft Excel, if you're familiar with that. Let's click over here to this window, and then you can see what's kind of happening here. You get a timestamp. Now I went ahead and submitted 5 fictitious students, and then you can see a timestamp for every time I submitted my answer. Here you can see the questions in each column. As we go along the columns here, you'll see the questions, and then you'll see the answers for each student. So what you've done here is you've created a database, basically, for the whole entire rising fourth graders. Okay, as I scroll down here, after the first couple of students I submitted, then I just went on the spreadsheet and I just did to make it easier, so I wouldn't have to come up with 60-some names. As you can see, I just kind of did, very generic. Now, what we're going to try this year is we're going to try to use this database that you created in a Google spreadsheet, and we're going to use this information to create the class groupings for next year. What you'll notice here is I have my form responses. That's basically the whole rising fourth grade group, and in this case, all 60 of them. Here you can see Class A. Now when I click on Class A, it's blank, except for the different columns that are the exact same ones in the form responses. And I have Class B, Class C, and you might even need Class D. You can go ahead and change these if you want. You can rename them simply by right-clicking, renaming it. So if you're a third grade teacher and you want to be more specific and you want to put Russell, Semler, and Fish, and then delete Class D, then you can get very specific, but you don't have to. Really, it's up to you. It's your decision. So what we're envisioning here is we're envisioning, in this case, the entire third grade team and any teachers that they work with sitting around. Each can have their own laptop because this will be shared between every person in the grade level, and then making decisions based upon demographics and levels on how you want to create the classes for next year. Okay, so how might you do that? Well, the first thing I would do is I would shorten up the columns a little bit. I would trim them a little bit, and so you're not taking up so much room. You don't need all this room for the student ID, and then you don't need all this room for the teacher name, and then so on. Since they're all returning, or you could delete the ones that aren't returning, then you kind of just move them over. So you can see what I'm doing here is I'm making it a little bit easier for me to see this whole group at once. Now the next thing I would suggest doing is a color coding. Remember how we used to, way back when, we used to have these blue and pink cards, blue for boys and pink for girls. Well, what you can do, and you can, as a group, then you can just color code. So I didn't do all of them, but you could click in here and go to the color fill, and then if you want to select this color as the boys, then you would do that for all the boys and girls. Now, if there's 4 or 5 of you sitting around, one person could color code the gender, and another person, you could decide, well, if you want to color code ethnicity, you could, or if you want to color code ELP level or disability, if you want to color code all of the AAP statuses, you want to color code them one color. Whatever color you want that you decide upon, it's really your group's decision. It's just going to make it that much easier to create the groups. So you could do the same thing, when you get into academics and behavior. If you want to take all the students that are going to take a lot of extra TLC, if you know what I mean, as far as their behavior, you can color code them a certain color. So how does this come into play? Well, if you're going to take this student, Holly, and you've decided that you're going to put her in group A, first thing you're going to do is you're going to highlight the row. Now, you're not going to be able to, in a Google spreadsheet, you're not going to be able to copy and paste by using your pad or your mouse. It's not going to let you. Instead, you have to use the shortcuts. So I'm going to highlight this row rather, and I'm going to do Control C. Control C will copy it. Now I'm going to put her, let's just say we decide as a team that we're going to put her in class A. Then you come over to class A, and then you highlight row 2, the first row, and then Control V. And then that puts her in that class. And then once you've successfully moved Holly into class A, then you can highlight this row and then right click and then delete the row. And then that way you know that you've moved her, and then that's one fewer student that you have to group. So she's still there in class A. It's just we've moved her out of the whole grade level pool that we're moving into specific classes. And what makes the color coding so helpful is that when I have this class A formed, then I can look and see how many pinks I have, how many blues I have. So you want to balance it out. I can look to see, if this is going to be a class that's primarily special ed, if you've chosen yellow for whatever accommodations they get or services they get, count up the number of yellows. We can see the amount of reds that might indicate challenging behaviors. So you can really see at a glance, just by looking at the colors, what this class is going to look like. One thing I want to talk about, just take a break for a moment, that might come in useful is the revision history tool. So if you make a mistake and you screw up and you accidentally delete a student and you can't find them again and you want to bring them back but you want to recover the information, one thing you would consider is the revision history tool. You click File, See Revision History, and over on the right this window pops up and it will tell you what the document looked like at 2:55 on today, since this is the only day I've been working with it. Then I can see what it looked like at 1:44. And then I can see what it looked like at that time. If I wanted to restore this version, then I click that button and then I could do that. And so this window shows more general revisions. If I want to see more detailed revisions, I click this button, and then I can get really time specific. As you can see, it really breaks it down to what it looked like. We're talking within minutes of each other. And that way you can get more specific if you want to look at what the document looked like at that moment, or if you just want to revert back to that version, you can do that. Remember, the nice thing about Google is that all the changes are saved. You never have to worry about losing your work. So as you wind down, you might be asking, if you're not too familiar with Google, where would I find this spreadsheet? How do I hop on and then make my revisions as a team and make the groups? Well, you log into your drive, and then there's two main components of it rather, is my drive. These are all the things that I've created and I'm the owner, and then shared with me. each of you is going to have the results spreadsheet shared with you. So you're going to go into your shared drive or share with me, and then you're going to look for it. I'll show you what it would look like. Now here you can see all of them because I've created all of these, but you will just see the ones specific to you. So here's the one I was just working with, Student Placement Form 2015 sample, and in parentheses it says responses. So if you're a second grade teacher, you have rising third graders, you would look for this spreadsheet where it says responses, and you click on that, and that's where you would go to make your groups. Alright, so we're just about ready to wrap things up here. Again, just a quick review. You're going to find your placement forms by grade level. If you're a third grade teacher, you would look for rising fourth graders. If you're a first grade teacher, you would look for rising second graders, and so on. And you click the form, and then you enter the information one student at a time as it asks for. Follow very specifically the information that it's asking for. And once every member of your team has inputted their student data, then you're all going to sit down as a group, each with your own computer if you'd like, and you're all going to go into your shared drive. You go to your shared drive, and then you find where it says student placement form for Woodburn, whatever it is, your grade level, and you're looking for the responses. And then you click on the responses, and you come to this spreadsheet. The first sheet of the spreadsheet is going to be all the members of that rising class. And then you're going to have class A, B, C, and even D. And you can rename them according to teacher if you want by right-clicking and then simply renaming. You're going to look at the information. I would suggest shortening the columns to whatever meets your needs, color coding them, whatever meets your needs, and then that way you can look and then start making decisions about how you want to group your students. Have this discussion as a team, sitting down. You could spread out the work. You could have one person in charge, whatever your team decides. Then to move the students, you simply click the row, you do Control-C, you move it to the class where you want to put them, and then you do Control-V, and then going back, finding that student, Clark, and then clicking on the row and then deleting them, and then that way you know you moved that student, and then you're ready to look at more. And that's how you make the classes. One more thing I'm just remembering, if you want to, those of you who are familiar with Excel, it might be to your benefit to filter the columns. So let's just say that you want to look at all the behaviors together. You come over to the column, and then you find this drop-down arrow. You click the drop-down arrow, and then you could filter, or sort them rather. And then that way I have all the ones together, all the twos, all the threes. So that might make you, maybe you want to take this group of challenging students and you might want to break them up. So that's just another way you can manipulate the data. I'm just going to push the back undo button, and then that puts it back to the way that it was. So that completes the tutorial. I want to thank you for watching. I know that for everyone this represents a new way of forming the class groups, but in doing it this way we had in mind convenience for you, a collaborative effort where we have multiple people looking at the class groupings and then making changes, color coding and manipulating. We believe that's the most effective way in order to form class groups that you're going to be able to feel comfortable creating for the group as they move on to the next grade level. If you're not quite comfortable yet with using Google and using spreadsheets, I'm available. If you need me, please contact me. I'd be more than happy to, if you make an appointment, I'd be more than happy to sit with your group as you get going to get you that comfort level where you're going to feel satisfied in the process. So once again, thanks for watching, and good luck making your groups for the 15-16 school year. Bye-bye.